Okay, so great afternoon everyone and happy new year. So ये जो जर्नी था अपना ABCD का लास्ट कोविड जब से स्टार्ट हुआ था तब से ऑनलाइन सेशंस अलग अलग टॉपिक्स पे हम ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे थे और अभी भी करते रहेंगे और ये जर्नी कंटिन्यू अभी 2022 में भी कंटिन्यू कर रहे हैं और 2022 का ये पहला सेशन है. सो एज अ गिफ्ट सेशन सबके लिए रखा था. सो थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग एंड आज हमारे बीच अपने जो गेस्ट स्पीकर है वो है अजय अग्रवाल सर. नेशनली एक्लेम एजुकेटर है और 25 प्लस इयर्स का उनका एक्सपीरियंस है कॉर्पोरेट ट्रेनिंग्स में. और अगर इतना एक्सपीरियंस है तो आज हम उनसे कुछ अच्छी बातें सीखने की कोशिश करेंगे और आई होप सभी लोग अब कुछ सीख कर इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे ताकि कुछ अच्छे रिजल्ट्स मिले. So without wasting so much time, I would like to invite our today's guest. So welcome Ajay Agarwal sir in this wonderful platform and over to you.
Okay, thank you Akash sir and thank you participants. We are 9, so probably we can all put on our videos if it is possible. We can make this session very interactive and please don't hesitate to clear your doubts wherever you have. Will you permit me to speak both in English and Hindi? Do I have your permission? Mr. Gulati, Mr. Sonavane? Sir, can I? Yeah.
Definitely, sir.
Mr. Nikhil? Yeah, all right. So, right, Rutika ma'am has joined in. So let me share my screen again. And then, because we take the help of a presentation only because there could be some kind of a structure. Just a minute. I'll put it on slideshow. I need to drag it down. Possibly drag this down also. Are the slides visible? Akash sir, can you please guide me?
It's visible, sir.
Visible. All right. Thank you, Sohini ma'am. So friends, welcome to this about 2.5 hour session on Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. So this is known as the POSH Act. In short, this is known as the POSH Act 2013. Now, the first alphabet P, as you would see in the slide before, it stands for 3 words, which is the prevention, prohibition, and redressal. I think it is very important for us to first understand these 3 words such that we can understand the broad objective of the law. If you would see, the law is not very punitive. The law does not want to punish. Therefore, they have used the word prevention. In this particular act, there would be several provisions wherein you would find that the law has generally appealed to the good senses of people to self-discipline themselves, to self-monitor themselves, and to resist from causing sexual harassment of women at workplaces. So therefore, the word prevention is there. However, when measures and or requests aimed at prevention, they do not fulfill the avowed objectives of what the government and the society at large has, then we probably have to bring in kind of punitive steps if we want to have a situation come into the society, which is we actually wish to have a zero tolerance to sexual harassment of women at workplaces. This is one of the avowed objectives of this law. We call it SSD cube in short. As trainers, in order to remember and to make an acronym, we call it S square D cube, which is we need to give our women, mothers, daughters, sisters, wherever they are at their workplaces, we want to provide. And when I say we mean the society, the government. Each one of us has a responsibility in providing, number one, a safe, number two, a secure, number three, a dignified, number four, a decent, and number four, a dignified, decent, and a place with decency where women can work at workplaces. But if preventive measures do not actually work and or yield the results, then some kind of prohibition, which means some kind of laws, etc., which are backed with legal action and penal actions, have to be included in the act, which we would also see. And then, खुदा ना खास्ता, सारे preventive measures लेने के बावजूद भी, सारे prohibitory measures लेने के बावजूद भी, in spite of the preventive measures, in spite of the prohibitory measures, supposing something goes wrong or something goes wrong with any of our women at workplaces, then it again becomes our pious duty to work towards her rehabilitation and bring her back or aid in the process of bringing her back to the national mainstream. And therefore, one particular section of this act is wholly devoted to the redressal mechanisms, which is what do we do if that incident of sexual harassment has already occurred? How do we provide the women with justice? What all can be done to bring her back to the mainframe? Right? Any questions so far? Anything on the chat? May I ask one question? Yes, sir. Please.
Ajay Agrawal, sir. Good evening. This is Dr. Abhimanyu Mishra. I have one question, sir. That ये पॉश एक्ट अलग होता है और पॉस्को एक्ट अलग होता है ना?
जी सर, पॉस्को जो है वो चिल्ड्रन के लिए, उसमें देखिए POSC है, जो C है that is for children and only especially for women who are, मैं डिफाइन करूंगा सर कि वर्किंग विमेन कौन है, एग्रीव्ड विमेन कौन है, और वर्क प्लेसेस की डेफिनेशन इस एक्ट में क्या है, इस एक्ट को क्यों लाया गया, इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या हैं, इसके तहत दंडनीय अपराध क्या हैं। पर आपका प्रश्न आमंत्रित है, बहुत बढ़िया प्रश्न है आपका। कई लोगों को कंफ्यूजन होता है क्योंकि अल्फाबेट्स बहुत नजदीकी हैं, बहुत सिमिलर हैं। पॉक्सो एक्ट जो है पॉस्को और ये पॉश, ये भिन्न है सर।
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So may I proceed, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so ये है Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. Okay, so now I don't know what's happening. Okay, so it is the POSH Act 2013. See, जहां पे भी एक्ट होता है उसके सामने जब आप ये 2013 देखते हैं, इसका मतलब ये है कि ये सन 2013, this act was passed and incidentally this act also came into force, which is effective in the year 2013, and therefore we happen to mention 2013. There is a point to ponder here, which is we got independence in 1947, and if you take 2013 from 1947, you would see that it is about 53 years and then 13 years here. So 53 and 13. So it will work out to about 66 years. So even if we have about 10 years for settling down, so we could still argue for the sake of argument that यार 50 साल क्यों लग गए, 50 साल तक हमको इंतजार क्यों करना पड़ा ऐसे कानून को लाने के लिए, उस पे भी हम लोग बाद में चर्चा करेंगे। ये कुछ फैक्ट्स हैं। 23 अप्रैल 2013 को पॉश एक्ट को प्रेसिडेंट्स का असेंट मिला, which was at that point of time we had Reverend Pranab Mukherjee sir. He signed the act, which is he gave his assent to the act, and it was published in the Gazette of India. See, what is a Gazette of India? I am sure you know that is a public document of the government of India. It is impossible for the government to send copies to 130 crores of people, right? And then inform them about an act. Once the government of India publishes something in the Gazette and it is on the news platform of the government of India, now of course on the website, it is presumed that everybody, whosoever is interested, will take due cognizance of the act and familiarize himself or herself with the niceties of the act. So it was published in the Gazette of India as Act number 14 of 2013. If anybody Googles Act number 14 of 2013, right? And it came into force on 9th of December. So if you would see the assent and the coming of the force, both are 2013, right? And it is administered by the Ministry of WCD, which is Ministry of Women and Child Development. So who is the monitoring agency for this particular act? It is the Ministry of Women, जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं महिला एवं बाल मंत्रालय. उन लोगों ने भी इसको दिसंबर 9, 2013 को इफेक्टिव डेट कहा कि यह एक्ट सन 2013 9 दिसंबर से लागू हो जाएगा. उन्होंने एक्ट भी बनाया और किसी भी एक्ट को संचालित और कार्यान्वित करने के लिए हमको उसके संबंधी कुछ रूल्स वगैरह भी बनाने पड़ते हैं, जिससे कि द एक्ट कैन एक्चुअली बी implemented and put into work. Okay. Now this is what the Gazette of India looks like. Just copied it from the Google. So you see, you would say Bharat ka Rajpatra, which in translated is Gazette of India. जैसे पुराने जमाने में हमारे राजा महाराजा लोग होते थे, उनके भी announcements वगैरह राजकीय कागजों से होते थे. तो this is what is known as the Gazette of India. Suffice it to know at this place. Now what we are going to cover, introduction मैंने cover किया ही है. We are going to cover the mandate. भाई क्या वजह थी जिसने ये एक्ट के लिए हमें मजबूर किया? What is the mandate? क्यों? Right? जैसे वो कहते हैं कि भैया मैं 18 साल का हो गया हूँ. If I go to a voter booth and I say that I want to vote, and if there is somebody who tells me, gentlemen, where do you draw your power to vote? I would say I get my power from the Constitution of India. So I am mandated to vote because the Constitution of India provides 3 basic conditions. I should not be of unsafe, I should not have any kind of mental jeopardize or mentally imbalance or something like that. I should be an Indian citizen and I should be more than 18 years of age. So if I suffice all these 3 conditions, then as per the Constitution of India, I am mandated to vote. So what is the mandate? We will try to understand. And then we will try to understand what is the genesis. वो कौन सी ऐसी इंसिडेंट्स हुए, वो कौन इसका ऐतिहासिक, जिसको हम लोग प्रियम्बल करते हैं कि कौन सी ऐसी ऐतिहासिक घटनाएं घटी, राइट? इस ये जो पर्टिकुलर एक्ट है, behind this particular act, what all went. And then we will look at the salient features of the act, and where we will see what is workplace sexual harassment, what actually is it. Now at this point of time, right, let me stop sharing my screen for a minute and let me come back to all of you. Bhatnagar sir, welcome. Can anybody tell me like what normally would come to your mind when you would hear the words sexual harassment? Anybody can unmute. Anybody can unmute.
Of any like that, any vulgar scene or activities which hurt the women in any workplace. the sentiment or the dignity of any women,
Okay,
and
very
she may feel harassed.
okay,
She may
okay,
feel harassed.
okay.
Depends
If
on
you look,
how to live.
right, very good. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for responding. Right, you see, if you will see, there are two words. There is one word which is harassment, and another is sexual. So sexual is an adjective, harassment is a noun. So first, let us try to understand, why did they not use the word sexual pain? Why did they not use the word sexual uncomfortableness? Why did they not put the word sexual agony? Why did they not put the word sexual malaise? Why did they have to put the word harassment? That is a question which intelligent participants like all of you must question yourself. So what comes to your mind when we say harassments can be different times? It could be mental harassment, it could be physical harassment, the third degree harassment which the police provides to some of the criminals. Emotional harassment is there, mental harassment is there, and therefore there's something known as sexual harassment also. But what basically comes to your mind or comes to one's mind when we hear the word harassment? Yes, anybody else? Anybody else other than Madam Chaudhary? She has been very, very sporting. She took one question about that. But we have, yeah, please.
Myself, Pradnya, sir.
Yeah, बोलिए मैडम.
ये सुनने के बाद जो इमीडिएट रिएक्शन आता है ना, वो ये होता है कि मन के ऊपर उसका इम्पैक्ट पड़ जाता है अपने.
ओके.
या
मन के
दिमाग
ऊपर एक
पे.
इम्पैक्ट आता है.
हाँ,
मन के
यस.
ऊपर या दिमाग के ऊपर.
यस.
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया.
एक इम्पैक्ट आ जाता है कि ये क्या, मतलब ऐसा क्यों, या फिर ये क्यों ऐसा हो जाता है.
ये क्यों. बहुत खूब, बहुत राइट, वेरी गुड. यू सी, बहुत बढ़िया कहा. बहुत बहुत बधाई, बहुत बहुत बधाई आपको. देखिए, हैरेसमेंट का मतलब है कि कोई भी ऐसी स्थिति जिसमें हम ये सोचने लग जाते हैं, करूं तो क्या करूं, इधर कुआं और उधर खाई. राइट, अगर ये करता हूं तो ये तकलीफ है, ये करता हूं तो ये तकलीफ है. मुझे कोई रास्ता इमीडिएटली दिखाई नहीं देता और मुझे अपने आप पे क्रोध आता है. मैं बाहर निकलना चाहता हूं, बट मैं किसी पावर सिंड्रोम में हूं. कोई व्यक्ति मेरे पे पावर एक्सरसाइज करता है और न वो मेरे को निकलने देता है और नहीं उस स्थिति में रहकर मैं कंफर्टेबल हूं. सो अगर मैं करूं तो क्या करूं? then that kind of intense pain, intense, there is a word in English which is intense, INTENSE, intense discomfiture, intense pain, right? जहां आप अपने आप से क्रुद्ध होने लग जाते हैं, जहां पे एक एकदम लाचारी की स्थिति बन जाती है, वहां पे हम कहते हैं harassment, right? If you allow me, I'll just share a case with me. I was caught in a traffic violation. I know that was a violation. I told the police constable, I admit that there has been a violation from my side. You have two options, sir. I'm willing to give you my license. You can issue a receipt, a bona fide receipt to say that you've got my license. Just put the validity date. I'll pay the fine in the court and we will have it collected from the notified police station. Or otherwise, if you have the provision of collecting a spot fine, I'm willing to pay the fine. And that gentleman did not accede to any of my request for the next 2.5 hours. I had a very important meeting. I had to miss that meeting. And on the pretext of a senior person coming in, he will take me to the police station, there's that, etc., 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 etc. He continuously, ignored me, wasted my time, did not attend to me, did not take any definitive action for 2.5 hours. Now, can you tell me what was I feeling for those 2.5 hours? If I were to call my wife and say, I got stuck up, right? What would I convey my feelings to my wife? Anybody? Mr. Bhatnagar, you have unmuted yourself, sir.
Pure harassment.
Yeah,
Pure harassment.
I was harassed. So there is something known as sexual harassment. We will see that. What actually is sexual harassment? Well, of course, what Madam said is correct. Besides, there is some more dimensions to it, which we would explore as we go into the depth of the subject. So let me once again share my screen. So I think we were here. Right. Is it visible? Is it?
Yes, sir.
It's visible.
Okay.
Very
So we will have a look at what is workplace sexual harassment. Now, normally people will think that, here you would see that the definition of a workplace is also very wide, because the objective of the act is very, very wide. So please do not confuse yourself with the ordinary meaning of the workplace, which is your factory premises or say 10 feet by 15 feet of area where you are working, or actually wherever you are employed, etc., etc. Because when we will come to the definition of the workplace as per the Act, I am sure all of us would be pretty surprised. So we would like to understand what is a workplace sexual harassment, and then okay, then we will see who is an aggrieved women. हिंदी में जब हम लोग एक्ट पढ़े थे, एग्रीव्ड का मतलब है, जैसे हरास्ड वीमेन को हम लोग कहते हैं हिंदी में उत्पीड़ित, और सेक्सुअल को हम लोग कहते हैं लैंगिक या यौन. तो अगर आप इसका हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन देखेंगे इस एक्ट का, तो वो कहेंगे यौन उत्पीड़न. तो उत्पीड़ित महिला कौन है? हम यहाँ पे ये नहीं कह रहे हैं एग्रीव्ड विमेन कौन है. The woman is aggrieved. Whether she has been sexually harassed or not is a matter of inquiry, which we will see how the inquiry is conducted, how the judgments come in, how the appeals against the judgments are made. I'll try to cover as much as possible. If not, then we will do part 2. So who is an aggrieved woman? What is a workplace? What is sexual harassment at workplace? What are the key elements of workplace sexual harassment? This is very important. What are the key elements? As an analogy, if I were to explain, which trainers mostly do, so that the ideas become crystal clear, and I can see that there are many trainers here. I don't claim to be a very accomplished trainer, but we definitely can help each other in the sense that I use a lot of analogies to make things clear. If I were to understand what are the key elements of water, probably I would understand it as hydrogen and oxygen. So whether it is a case of sexual harassment or not, whether sexual harassment has indeed taken place or not, those particular key elements should be present to allow it to be qualified as a sexual harassment. We'll see that. Then examples of behaviors and scenarios that constitute sexual harassment, right? And then we will also see what are the forms of sexual harassment. What is sexual harassment is one subject. What are the forms of sexual harassment is another subject, which is in which form, sexual harassment है क्या? ये एक चीज है, और sexual harassment को actually कार्यान्वित कैसे किया जाता है? How do we put sexual harassment into motion? So in which form can we do it? Those are the various forms of sexual harassment. Those digits that you see, 8, 9, 12, 14, those all refer to a handbook on sexual harassment, which has been published by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, which I'll tell you, if you will share with me your mail ID and your WhatsApp number. On my WhatsApp number, I will make sure that this handbook and some other material on POSH Act is sent to everybody's email and WhatsApp respectively. Then we will see the various scenarios so that with the examples, things will become clear. Then we will come to which is known as prevention and prohibition. Who are the preventive authorities? Then we see district officer. Then what are the responsibilities of the aforementioned authorities, which means preventive office authorities and the district officer. Then we will come to the redress mechanism. Who can complain and where? What should the complaint contain? What can an employee or a worker expect? This is when I'm saying employee or a worker, which is aggrieved women. Then what are the key responsibilities of the body which is set up for the purposes of investigation? What kind of knowledge, skills, and training do they require? What are the do's and don'ts for that body, which is known as the complaints committee? And what are the things which are non-negotiable during the inquiry process? Once the inquiry process is set in, there are some things which cannot be done, right? So what are those things which are non-negotiable? For instance, one of the clauses during the inquiry process is the clause of secrecy, right? All the members of the committee, even the witnesses, etc., they are all under oath not to make any of the proceedings of the committee public. And they mutually owe their accountability, which means if for some reason or the other, any information is leaked out, right, each member of the committee will be penalized to the extent of 5,000 rupees, irrespective of the fact कि वो किस member से leak हुई है. The law does not say कि किसने leak किया है, leak हो गई है, यही अपने आप में बहुत ज़्यादा है. And we will see what is the sexual harassment complaint process, right? So if there is an aggrieved woman, where does she go? What does she do, right? And then we will see a chart. We will see that how does the justice gets, how is justice imparted, or how is justice delivered? Then what kind of monitoring mechanisms are there? What are some of the global norms and good practices? These global norms and good practices I may not be able to cover, but the rest of the 5 I think I would be able to cover. All right, let's see. So where is the mandate, right? Where does the mandate come from? Now, who authorized us to make an act like that? This is the question, mandate. Now, can anybody chip in something? Anybody? Anything that comes to your mind? Mandate. जैसे मैंने आपको mandate बताया, Constitution of India हमको ये अधिकार देता है कि if I am 18 years or more, I can vote. So where does this mandate come from? And please also understand, this is a prevention, prohibition, redressal of sexual harassment of working women at work, or of women at workplaces, or call it working women, right? Mr. Asthana, Vishwadeep sir, are you listening? I need some kind of acknowledgement, otherwise I'm not too sure that I'm
mandates actually come from a constitution.
Okay, so what can you think? What kind of constitution? माने कहाँ से? ठीक है, constitution है. You are very right. Right, please come. You are very near the answer.
Yeah.
Does our constitution allow any discrimination between men and women?
No, they don't.
They don't, right? Do we have provisions on gender equality?
Yes.
Are women anyway inferior than men?
Not according to the constitution.
Not according to the constitution, right? What is the general feeling all over the world? Is there gender equality? Are we moving towards, is the world moving towards gender equality?
अजय सर,
Sir.
देखिए, कहने के लिए तो हम लोग कह सकते हैं कि yes, we are moving towards gender equality, but our society do not allow it. बड़ा कॉमन सा बात है, ये जो मैंडेट बोले क्या है सर, हम तो नहीं जानते हैं. और
हाँ मिश्रा साहब, ठीक है, अच्छी बात है. हमारी सोसाइटी कोई चीज अलाउ नहीं करती है. मैं आपकी बात सोसाइटी हम ही लोग बनाते हैं। एक समय था जब हम लोग, राइट, राजा राम मोहन रॉय ने सती प्रथा के खिलाफ आवाज उठाई थी। कई ऐसी चीजें हैं जो हमारी सोसाइटी करती है, कई ऐसी चीजें हैं जो हमको ऐसा लगता है कि आज की स्थिति में ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। तो उन के स्थितियों को मद्देनजर रख के कानून वगैरह बनाए जाते हैं, और अगर कानून होते हैं तभी कुछ कदम लिए जा सकते हैं। हम ये प्रार्थना ही कर सकते हैं ईश्वर से कि चीजें सुधरें। और जब से हम स्वाधीन हुए हैं,
मेरा आपसे है, एक प्रश्न मेरा है आपसे, अगर आपकी अनुमति हो तो मैं क्या पूछ सकता हूँ?
सर अगर टॉपिक से संबंधित होगा तो निश्चित रूप से आप पूछें।
जी जी, टॉपिक से ही संबंधित है। मैं ये बड़ा इंटरेस्ट लेके ये टॉपिक में सुन रहा हूँ
सर।
कि मेरे बिहार और झारखंड में, खास करके बिहार में, बहुत सारे ऐसे ही ये महिलाओं से मुलाकात होता है यहाँ पर। कुछ भी थोड़ा खटपट हुआ, वो जाके अटपटा जो है कंप्लेन दे देती है। उससे भी बचने का आप उपाय बताएंगे सर?
सर मैं बताऊंगा, आप थोड़ा सा मुझे मौका दीजिए मेरे को। राइट, तो पहले हम ये बताते हैं कि आप चाहेंगी ना कि आप, अगर मिश्रा साहब आप चाहेंगे कि आपकी जो बिटिया है वो किसी कल कारखाने में, किसी इंफोसिस में, टीसीएस में, कहीं पे भी इज्जत से काम करे, उसको भी अपने जीने का अधिकार है। उसका वो एक मेल की तरह ही उसी तरह उसी कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ उस कंपनी में जाए, वहां पे वो नौकरी करे, स्वस्थ रहे, सुरक्षित रहे, सेफ रहे, राइट, अपने परिवारजनों के पास शाम को सुरक्षित लौट पाए। राइट,
बिल्कुल।
ऐसी एक व्यवस्था बने जिसमें हम, अब ये व्यवस्था नहीं बन रही है, वो एक दूसरा विषय है, पर निश्चित रूप से आप चाहेंगे कि वो आपकी बेटी के लिए भी हो और दूसरों की बेटियों के लिए भी, सरकार के लिए, हम लोगों के लिए हमारी एक सामाजिक उत्तरदायित्व बन जाता है कि हमारी जो माताएं हैं, हमारी जो बेटियां हैं, हमारी जो बहनें हैं, राइट, उनको भी हमको पूरा they must have equal rights to work, they have equal right to liberty। and हम लोग जो हमारे इंटरनेशनल कन्वेंशंस हैं, आज मान लीजिए कई ऐसे देश हैं जो लोग महिलाओं को उनका पूरा अधिकार नहीं देते हैं। उन देशों की औद्योगिक उत्पादन, उनका जो डेवलपमेंटल प्रोसेस है, मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहता हूं, पर वो कई ऐसे देश हैं जिनका जो ग्रोथ वगैरह है वहां पे भी कई जगह की अड़चने वगैरह आती हैं। और एक सभ्य समाज, एक प्रोग्रेसिव नेशन होने के लिए कुछ मिनिमम बेंचमार्क्स हैं, उनमें जेंडर इक्वालिटी भी एक बेंचमार्क माना जाता है। और जो हमारे बाबा अंबेडकर थे, जो हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली के जो जाने माने स्वतंत्रता संग्रामी थे, राइट, डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद थे, बिहार से ही थे, उन लोगों ने मिलकर ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बनाया। अनुच्छेद 15, अनुच्छेद 19, अनुच्छेद 21, इन सब में उन्होंने कहा कि हमको कुछ मौलिक अधिकार प्राप्त हैं, which they called as the fundamental rights. So the mandate is ideally coming from what we can say from the constitution and from the many international conventions, etc., which we have, from the many international conventions, etc., which we have agreed, right, which we have, like the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women। ये एक सेडो का है, इंटरनेशनल लीगल इंस्ट्रूमेंट है। स्लाइड दिख रही है क्या भटनागर सर?
यस सर, यस सर,
यस सर, वी कैन सी, यस सर।
राइट, ये एक इंटरनेशनल लीगल इंस्ट्रूमेंट है और इंडिया भी एक सिग्नेटरी है। आप नहीं सिग्नेचर करना चाहते आप मत करिए, नॉर्थ कोरिया ने इस पे सिग्नेचर नहीं किया है, और भी कई देश हैं जिन लोगों ने इस पे सिग्नेचर नहीं किया है। आप सिग्नेचर करना चाहते हैं करिए, उससे आपकी मनसा, आपके महिलाओं के प्रति आपकी मनसा क्या है वो उस खुलासा होता है। मुझे इस बात का गर्व है कि हमारी जो कंट्री है उन्होंने कन्वेंशन ऑन एलिमिनेशन ऑफ ऑल फॉर्म्स ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन अगेंस्ट विमेन पे हमने भी हस्ताक्षर किए हैं, और इसीलिए हम ड्यूटी बाउंड हैं कि हम धीरे धीरे हमारी विमेन के प्रति जो भी असमानताएं, जो सामाजिक असमानताएं सिर्फ उनकी महिलाओं के होने के कारण ही जिनमें महिला होना अपने आप में कोई कसूर नहीं है, और हम लोगों को ये औचित्य भी नहीं है, और हम लोगों को ये इस चीज का फैसला करने का किसी ने आधिपत्य भी नहीं दिया है कि हम ये निश्चय करें कि किसको अधिकार मिलेंगे नहीं मिलेंगे। अगर हमको ऐसा लगता है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के मद्देनजर जो अधिकार हमें प्राप्त हैं उसमें अगर कहीं फेरबदल करना है तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में संशोधन की व्यवस्था है। जब तक वो नहीं है तब तक जो अभी व्यवस्था है उसके अंतर्गत ही हम अपने इस डिस्कशन को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। कन्वेंशन ऑन द एलिमिनेशन है, आर्टिकल 14 है, आर्टिकल 15 है, आर्टिकल 21 है, राइट टू प्राइवेसी, राइट टू शेल्टर, राइट टू हेल्थ, राइट टू लीगल एड वगैरह वगैरह, इन सबको अभी देखने का नहीं है, राइट। अब ये क्वेश्चन आता है पॉइंट्स टू पॉन्डर कि ये तो हमारा मैंडेट है। ठीक है सर, मैंडेट था, राइट, हम मान लिए कि मैंडेट था। एक मिनट, मैंडेट था तो सर मैंडेट था तो अच्छी बात है। पॉइंट्स टू पॉन्डर यही 66 वर्ष के बाद 2013 में आपने, राइट, अभी कई लोगों का ये कहना है कि सर आप लोग ये कहते हैं वर्किंग विमेन, क्या सिर्फ महिलाएं ही यौन उत्पीड़ित होती हैं? अगर कोई महिला, जैसा कि अभी सर ने पूछा था, नाम मिश्रा साहब ने पूछा था, उनका भी प्रश्न का मैं उत्तर दूंगा। क्या महिलाएं किसी पुरुषों का यौन उत्पीड़न नहीं कर सकती हैं? और अगर महिलाएं भी पुरुषों का यौन उत्पीड़न कर सकती हैं और आप कहते हैं कि सबको बराबरी का दर्जा है, तो अगर सबको बराबरी का दर्जा है तो आपने सिर्फ यहाँ पे महिलाओं को ही क्यों सुरक्षित किया? Why did you only safeguard the women? You should have made this act gender neutral. You should have said sexual harassment, right? There are many gender neutral acts all over the world. Why in India did we have to make it gender specific? There is a reason, because when the bill was debated in the parliament, it was very hotly debated. And the learned parliament at that point of time felt, which is also proved by statistics, etc., that at this point of time, right, it is the women who need support. Couple of years later, suppose we feel that there is malicious complaints in plenty which are filed. There are complaints with malice at heart, then probably we will drop it. But as of now, right, if there is a sexual assault, harassment of men, under this particular act, I am afraid there is no remedy. But there are other acts under which there is a remedy. Men can seek remedy there. What are those remedies, etc., is beyond the scope of this discussion. We can hold another session for that later.
Ajay sir.
Yes.
So I have a question before you proceed. Now, what we are talking about, abhi to I joined late. I'm so sorry because there were guests at my place. So whatever I could understand from the time I joined, I have a question, sir. Now, this what I can understand is this is all going on offline workplace scenario, the session. Now, I want to ask, like now for now, I have my own courses that I have started, and if so now my workplace is my online sessions, right? My Zoom calls or my Google Meet calls. And if somebody does anything wrong on online platform, and this is my own venture, this is my own course and program, how does this law help me?
Very true. See, when this pandemic broke in, and when we had these online classes, etc., to that extent that even in the work offices, there are many offices where people are working at home. So cyber crime and all that has also been included into the scope of this particular act. Now, those are also offenses. Now, say for so supposing if a particular lady is being sexually harassed by way of SMSs, by way of video, right? Yep. So if you keep those SMSs, etc., as circumstantial evidence and or evidences, they will be taken as as evidence under the Indian Evidence Act, and the inquiring committee give it due cognizance and merit. So these cases, you would also be surprised to know that now in pandemic, see it's a very dynamic concept. Once the objective has been fitted in, the judiciary also interprets the judgments and the cases brought to them in their comprehensive form, so that the objectives of the act is not defeated. So much so that there was a very recent case where there was a CEO, right? He actually had made a small little office in his residence, and due to the pandemic, he did not know typing, etc., very well to come, and he had made some special provisions for her in terms of pick up, drop, etc., etc. And within his own house, he had allotted some space or a small little room, etc., which he called as his working office. And this particular case arose where in that particular premises, right, there was something hanky-panky which went around, and this lady complained. And you would be surprised to know that the Supreme Court, it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, irrespective of the fact, this particular person says, this is not my workplace, this is my residence. So he said, I'm not going to get worried about whether it is a residence, right? You are performing work-related duties there. And therefore, if you are performing work-related duties there, I will take it to be a workplace. And he was given punishment under the Act.
Okay.
So, Rutika ma'am, your question is very relevant. It is, I welcome it. And these are, you see, the laws are always dynamic. If you will see into the statute of many corporations where the pension funds have to be paid or the gratuity has to be paid, right? वहां पे electronic transfer defined ही नहीं है act में. The word, it can be made by a check, it can be paid by a DD, or it can be only those, because in those days, whether there would be an electronic transfer, NEFT, RTGS, etc., was not even dreamt of. So now, right, the Supreme Court had said it's okay. Like even your mails are being accepted as evidences in the under the of the Indian Evidence Act. So thank you for asking. Please,
yes, thank you so much.
Right. Please feel free to ask as many questions. So once again, let us go to the sharing of the screen. And so there was a point to ponder, right? Okay, what do I say from the current slide? I'm not very good at it. Anyway, points to ponder. Independence till 2013. Was there no sexual harassment? If then, were there no laws? Right? These are very pinpointed questions. Independence till 2013, 66 years, not a small time. 66 years later. कोई भी आपसे पूछ सकता है, दोस्त 66 साल तक क्या कर रहे थे? पापड़ बेल रहे थे? क्या आपके यहाँ राम राज्य था? कोई यौन उत्पीड़न नहीं था? क्या कोई कानून नहीं था? If then, अगर सेक्सुअल हरेसमेंट नहीं था या था, राइट, अगर कोई सेक्सुअल हरेसमेंट नहीं था तो अलग बात है, पर ये तो ऐसी स्थिति है नहीं, राइट? और अगर थे तो क्या कोई कानून नहीं थे? और अगर कानून थे तो फिर दोस्त क्या जरूरत थी कि 2013 में, as late as 2013, what was the need to bring a new act as late as said? And I just give you a poser, which is how many years post-independence? 66 years post-independence. Right? Tell me, friends, doesn't it make you think? 2013, भाई आज हम कहाँ हैं? 2021 में हैं भाई. It's only 8 years, यार. 8 years, and we brought in an act just 8 years back. So what was happening all these years since independence? Since independence, it was our control. Am I right?
Yeah, but then before that, even women did not work so much. I mean, in the rapid speed which the women are doing it now. And
right,
however, women were not kept at priority back then, I feel, because I can still
years,
remember.
Madam, You mean to say in the 1990s, you mean to say in the 2000, you mean to say in the 1980s? आप 60s, 65, 70s तक की बात करिए दोस्त. 80s में तो माने we had so many women entrepreneurs, so many.
Ajay sir, I feel
Surely
that
that would be a contributory reason, but could you think of something else also?
I feel, sir, that actually there are many such laws in our constitution that need to
All
be
right,
changed.
very good. Then why the need for a new law? As it is, we are bothered with law. Go and ask any trader. He says there are 79 rules for opening a small little shop.
I think the Nirbhaya case was the
So then what?
eye-opener.
So therefore, very good. I mean, I purposely wanted to, have some kind of a thought. So let us think. Let us again think and understand what is the need for this particular act, which is important. Okay. Right. So let us see slideshow from current slide. Okay. So Genesis. The first is Rupandev Bajaj. Right. Can you see the slide, please?
सर
Slide visible?
सर पहली स्लाइड शो हो रही है.
Sorry? Okay. It take time. Is it visible now?
नहीं सर.
Okay. Let me try again. Don't worry, these are all technical glitches. One can't really do much about that.
So maybe you go directly to the slide you want to start and double click on that because
Okay.
it's still not showing. Yes.
Okay. That's a good suggestion. Okay.
Yes, it's visible now. Yes.
चलना रुक जाता है ना तो हमारी सांस रुक जाती है तो फिर हमको पता नहीं. अब दिख रहा है?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, I would like all of you to watch this video very, very carefully because this is the starter. This is the starting position for reflection of the thought as to what necessitated us to usher in an act, right? A different act. Okay? Is the screen and the sound? Can you watch and can you hear?
सर वीडियो तो नहीं दिख रहा है.
सर सिर्फ
वही
साउंड
स्लाइड में
सुनाई दी थी.
हाँ
Sorry?
वही स्लाइड सर सिर्फ साउंड सुनाई दे रही है और स्लाइड वही चल रहा है, वीडियो नहीं आ रहा है.
Okay.
तो अगेन आई वुड सजेस्ट कि अगर वो वीडियो आपके डेस्कटॉप पे होगा तो आप डायरेक्टली ये तो इसको स्क्रीन शेयर से हटाइए, वीडियो को स्क्रीन शेयर पे लाइए.
वही करता हूँ. Stop share. Okay, not an issue. पहले तो इसको तो स्क्रीन शेयर पे करना पड़ेगा ना.
तो स्क्रीन शेयर पे क्लिक करें, वहां पे टैब बटन होगा, वहां पे जाए.
हाँ वो मैं समझ
वीडियो
गया.
पीछे ऑन रखिए.
So much of share screen. Okay, you can see the icons.
Yes. Now you select the video and
Thank
it
you
will
very
be
much.
visible to us.
Thank you. Working? Is it working?
वीडियो
No,
भी
no,
नहीं
no.
दिख रहा सर.
सर सुनिए ना, ये आप स्क्रीन शेयर से हटाइए इसको, मेरी बात सुनिएगा. आप वीडियो प्ले करके रखे, वीडियो प्ले करके रखो, इसको स्क्रीन शेयर से निकाल दीजिए पहले.
जी. ओके.
हाँ, अभी आप पहले वीडियो प्ले कर दीजिए लैपटॉप पे.
ठीक है.
अब उसको स्क्रीन लीजिए शेयरिंग पे.
आप कैसे लें स्क्रीन शेयर पे?
आप जूम ओपन करेंगे, जूम पे क्लिक करिए.
कर सकते हैं.
चलिए ट्राई करता हूँ.
हाँ, वीडियो पॉज कर दीजिए.
उसको तो फिर चला लेंगे, चलो कोई बात नहीं.
हाँ, अब वीडियो अगर स्क्रीन फुल स्क्रीन पे होगा तो आप अभी जूम के इस आइकन पे क्लिक. हाँ, नहीं अभी भी नहीं बजेगा फिर वो. वीडियो ऑन चाहिए
देखते हैं
लेट्स सी। हाँ
अब आ रहे हैं।
नहीं, आपको वीडियो ऑन करके रखना ही पड़ेगा सर।
पर मैं और आकाश सर हम लोग ट्राई किए थे, फिर से ट्राई
जी।
शेयर। हम्म। इसको मैं, अच्छा एक मिनट रुकिए, लेट मी कॉपी दिस ऑन टू द डेस्कटॉप। पर डेस्कटॉप तो पूरा शेयर होना चाहिए ना, तो फिर उसमें क्या दिक्कत है? डेस्कटॉप पूरा शेयर होना ही चाहिए।
सर आप वीडियो ऑन करके पॉज करके रखो और जूम मीट में जाके जहाँ पे शेयर ऑप्शंस है वहां से वो शेयर करो डायरेक्टली।
अच्छा
तो
ठीक
वो
है,
वीडियो शेयर हो जाएगा आपका।
ओके।
अब उसको पॉज करो।
पॉज कर दिया।
हाँ, अब
इसको
जूम पे
मिनिमाइज
जाओ।
किए।
यस, अब जूम पे जाके शेयर में जाओ और करंट वीडियो प्ले करो। वो
करूं शेयर, राइट। अभी करंट वीडियो है कहाँ? तो उसको भी तो खोजना पड़ेगा ना, क्योंकि हमको इस चीज की अभी तो हम लोग किए थे। अच्छा, लेट मी ट्राई इट वंस, यू नो, let me try it once, and I think I will be probably able to do it because I've done this before also many number of times. Let me copy this, but it will just take a little more time. Okay, now I'll do share screen. Let me just
sir,
screen share हुई मेरी? Can you see?
अब हो गई।
हो गई ना?
हाँ अभी
now
हो रहा है।
अब आ जाना चाहिए।
हाँ, अब आ
यस,
जाएगा।
नाउ विजिबल।
Okay. So my request to all of you, my friends, is listen to her very, very, very carefully. Don't worry about this 3-4 minutes which have gone. This can always happen.
She may be educated, uneducated, she may be working class, she may be an officer, she may be high ranking officer like me. All women. Nobody is immune. And it happens every day. In 1988.
In 1988, she is the first woman to bring a case of sexual assault to Indian courts. Please remember this year, 1988.
I was serving as Special Secretary Finance.
She was serving as Special Secretary Finance in the state of Punjab. She was an IS officer and her husband was also an IS officer.
I had about 20,000 people under me. 90% were men. There was a dinner party hosted by the Home Secretary and Mr. KPS Gill, who was the Director General of Police, was also there. He called out to me and he said, Mrs. Bajaj, I want to talk to you about something. He got up and he came and stood in front of me, towering above me. He put the finger in my face like that and he said, up, come on, up, come along with me. Come on, you come along with me. So I said, Mr. Gill, go away from here. You're misbehaving. And I got out from the gap in between him and me. And when I was going, that is the time when he slapped me on the bottom. That's what he did. Always people have considered it to be a very trivial thing. But I could not get over the enormity of it. Letting it go meant living with a lowered self-esteem, gulping down my humiliation, facing that person every day, facing all the other people. Consequences of complaining, I had not really estimated at that time. Nobody was willing to take up the case for me because
Nobody was willing to take the case for her in the state of Punjab, notwithstanding the fact that she was such a high-ranking officer. Now know the reason why.
Because they were so frightened of the DGP. He was the highest ranking police officer with all the powers of life and death. No one.
And at that point of time, Mr. KPS Gill was a pampered, right? Pampered hero of the politicians, because he was handling the Punjab issue, the Khalistani issue, and he was known as the encounter specialist.
No one wanted to do anything against him. And I found that no one had ever filed in section 509 and 354, which is the lesser offences against the modesty of women, 17 years.
How many years?
17.
17 years. हिंदी में जो इनकी वीडियो है उसमें है, मेरे जीवन के 17 वसंत बीत गए इस एक केस को लड़ते लड़ते। 17 साल, इमेजिन करिए। 20-22 की आपकी उम्र होगी तब, और 40 वर्ष की अब आपकी उम्र हो गई। एक केस ने आपको उलझा के रखा in the prime of your life.
Long years of my life, all of it was taken up by this one case. The lower courts had quashed the case, they had thrown it out. The case reached the Supreme.
The lower court had acquitted Mr. Gill. The High Court had also acquitted Mr. Gill. Fortunately for Mrs. Bajaj, she had the tenacity and the muscle and the passion and the zunoon, and probably her fight against a social cause, that she could finally take it to the Supreme Court. And my friends, ponder, these were not ordinary people, both husband and wife, among the top bureaucracy of the country. If it took 17 years for such well-connected people to get justice, we could very well imagine what would happen to commoners like us.
Supreme Court, and it was the Supreme Court which called for all the records, reinstated the matter, and also laid down, they gave the definition of modesty. They reprimanded the High Court judge and said, this cannot be treated as something trivial. All the people in every household, this was the talk between husband and wife. The limelight was not on KPS Gill. The entire focus was on me. Why have I registered a case? Must be something wrong with me.
Why have I registered a case? Something probably people thought was wrong with me. Such a trivial matter. Why this lady had to take up her cudgels against that?
I attended the proceedings of the trial throughout, along with my husband. But on the day the verdict came, I specially requested, I said, I don't want to go there. KPS Gill was expecting to win, so they had the police band there. And then my husband's driver rang up and said, Madam, he has been convicted on both counts. It's the mindset I fought against. I never fought against KPS Gill. I fought against the mindset of a society. People have started saying now offences against women are increasing. They are increasing. No. Now more women are speaking up.
Okay. So anybody would like to comment?
Yes, the last point that is so very important, and that, yes, the women are speaking up now.
All right. And what do you
And
think? Yeah.
and sir,
please.
I suppose that now the society is quite judgmental. First they didn't used to speak, then they started to speak, and now they speak a lot. And now it's like, because they have started to speak a lot, some are taking disadvantage also of the situation. And now what has happened is, I feel that even if some women are actually fighting for justice, are not getting justice because some women are actually taking advantage of situation, like Mishra sir said. So now now the ball game is changing altogether.
We will see.
Yes.
Very good. We'll see that. All right. Now look at what happened. Right. 17 years. Justice delayed is justice denied. So there were certain. Now she said that she did not find that anybody had filed cases under the minor offences against the modesty of women. Please try to understand that under our legal system, we have two branches. One is the civil law, another is the criminal law. There were two sections then. One was 354, another was 509, under which if there were cases of sexual assault on women, they had only refuge under these particular sections of the IPC, 354 and 509. And these sections, since they were under the criminal wing of the law, they attracted police attention. You had to file up an FIR with the police's involvement and so on and so forth. And right in the words of Mrs. Bajaj, as we have seen, it used to take a long period of time. Supposing a case has occurred in the place of, in a state of Kerala, and if a lady has to go up and down to Supreme Court, probably because of the expenses and so on and so forth, right? Probably either her financial muscle might break down, or she might not be too eager to pursue the case. At the trial courts and at the high courts, normally people who caused these kind of activities or caused these kind of aggressive instances were people with a lot of muscle power, lot of local influence, a lot of say, etc., in the local bureaucracy and so on and so forth. Therefore, the possibility of getting judgments at the lower stages in the judiciary, even to that extent you yourself heard Mrs. Bajaj say that the Punjab High Court had acquitted Mr. Gill, and it was the Supreme Court who actually had to reprimand, she uses the word reprimand the High Court judge, saying that it was no trivial, it was not a trivial act, and that it jolly well fell within the ambit of those acts. And you would be surprised to know that Mr. Gill was given 3 months of rigorous imprisonment, right, and 3 years of probation, besides a cash penalty of ₹2 lakhs, which of course Mrs. Bajaj denied, and that was given to an orphanage. So this is how the case started. 1988, add 17 years to that. So probably 1988 and 17, 8, 9, 10. I think 2005. So it was around 2005 that the judgment came. And in 2005, we did not have any such act known as the POSH Act. Is it clear? Any doubts in that? Now, if you wish to see, if you want to see what does that section 354 and the other section looked like, you would then probably get a feel of it, that see the KPL Singh, the man so seen as a hero and all that, right? This is not important, right? This was, right, KPSL separated, spared from this and pay a fine of, So what I was trying to say is, if we were to see what is 354, etc., 354, this was the original section. Whosoever assaults or uses criminal force to any women intending to outrage. Now you got to prove the intention. Intending to outrage or knowing it to be likely that he will thereby outrage her modesty shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term.
Ajay sir, can you just show us a slide, because that slide is not visible.
It is not visible?
The slide from where you are reading.
Yeah.
No, it is not.
Again, I'll again try to share the screen. Okay, ma'am. Is it visible now? Is it visible now?
Sir, I think you can just click on the slide.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do. Is it okay?
Yes. But a
Can you
slide
read
from
354? Can you read this section?
no.
You can't see this slide. Anyway, again, I will have to probably.
Just click on the slide. Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay, so whosoever assaults or uses criminal force to any women intending to outrage or knowing it to be likely that he will thereby outrage her modesty, मतलब या तो उसका इंटेंशन होना चाहिए या उसको पता होना चाहिए कि उसके इस कदम से उसकी मॉडेस्टी आउटरेज हो जाएगी वगैरह वगैरह, राइट? ये था 354 और वैसा ही एक 509 था. Now what was so funny about these? Now we can discuss what was so funny about these particular sections. Well, firstly, they were in the criminal, the intention, etc., had to be proved. The modesty of women was nowhere described. Where is the Lakshman Rekha? Nobody knew. These people who were actually alleged or against whom complaints were filed were financially very well off. They were able to, hire the best of the lawyers in the country, and those lawyers were able to create some kind of doubt into the minds of the court. And as per our principles of natural justice, they say 10,000 people can, or 100 people can go, 100 criminals can go free, but not a person who has not done a crime should be punished, etc., etc. And the conviction rate was very, very, very low. As a result of which, right, again, in the institution under sections 354 and 509, right, people had very little confidence. So that is the genesis, number one. Is that all right? Is that all right, my friends? Is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so this was case 2005. Okay, this took place in 1988. Then what happened is another issue came in. So let me again share this screen. So if I share the screen, then I think again I'm going to face that. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then see, in the year 1992, so 1988 we had Mrs. Rupal Dev Bajaj. In the year 1992, we had a case of Bhavri Devi. Remember, still POSH Act has not come. Who was this Bhavri Devi? This Bhavri Devi was a government of Rajasthan worker, a scheduled caste, scheduled tribe women working in a village, employed by the government, nomenclatured as Sathin. Her prime responsibility was to find out whether any marriages, child marriages, were taking place surreptitiously, clandestinely in the state of Rajasthan, as the government wanted to do away with it. So these ladies were supposed to be in people of the village. They could spot out and they could report to the district magistrates, such that those kind of child marriages could be stopped and the menace could be taken care of. Bhavri Devi spotted one such child marriage which was taking place in her village. She complained to the district magistrate. The marriage was put off. However, the next day, Bhavri Devi was collectively raped by 3 people of the boys' side, because they were the high society people of the village. They took it upon their prestige and they said, how could a low caste women stop the wedding of the Gujjars? So 5 of them, Bhavri Devi narrates, went to her farmland, and in her own farm, 3 of them or 2 of them, held her husband, and either 2 or 3 of them gang raped her. So Bhavri Devi then went to the trial court The trial court acquitted all of them on a very superfluous logic, saying that Bhavri Devi was lying because, and they took support of the fact that such high class people, like such high caste women, high caste men, would not even bother to touch such a low caste lady, right? रेप वगैरह की तो बात ही नहीं, छोड़ दीजिए आप, वो उस लेडी तक को छुएंगे नहीं. और तब भवरी देवी took her matter to the Rajasthan High Court, and there also she did not get justice. When she did not get justice at the Rajasthan High Court also, probably then she had lost all her strength because she was not earning so much, and probably the matter doesn't go any further from there because it takes a diversion. So there's no incident of this particular case going on to the Supreme Court. However, we had Justice Bhagwati there, and Justice Bhagwati there, and during the tenure of Justice Bhagwati, he had introduced what was known as a public interest litigation, wherein he said that poor people can also approach the Supreme Court of India without much expenditure, even if on a postcard they write to the Chief Justice of India, New Delhi, and specify their complaint, which should not be individual, but it should affect any particular section of the society. Then Justice Bhagwati had said, I will take that as a kind of a writ. I will admit that as a kind of a writ, and suo moto start proceedings against that. And these were termed as PIL, public interest litigations. So there was a NGO, a women NGO in the state of Rajasthan. The Rajasthan's chapter, it was a pan-India movement known as the Vishakha, and the Rajasthan unit of the Vishakha, right? They took up the matter of Bhavri Devi, and they put in a appeal to the Supreme Court when we had the CJI as Justice J.S. Verma. And they said that, look, your laws of 354 and 509 are very inadequate. The conviction rate is abysmally low. There is no confidence. And there is so much of twist in those sections, etc., that it is very easy to create the doubt in the mind of the judges, and the people are getting acquitted, by which day and night they are becoming more and more bold. So until and unless you bring about a suitable legislation, these kind of menaces are not going to curb. And we are surprised as to why the government is not bringing in any kind of legislation like this. Why the government is happy with just 354 and 509. So there was a hue and cry around the nation. A lot of NGO groups and a lot of top lawyers, top female lawyers of the Supreme Court, Madam Indira Jaising, and this particular lady who is now representing the BJP, Mrs. Lekhi, I don't remember. A lot of women, top women lawyers, they represented this bill. And finally, Justice J.S. Verma, right? Because this case was not against those people, but Justice J.S. Verma came very heavily on the government. He came very, very heavily on the government and saying that your laws, etc., are abysmally inadequate to curb the menace. And there is an Article 141 of the Constitution of India, which says that if there is some kind of a national emergency and the Supreme Court feels that there are some laws, etc., which are to be made, which is otherwise the exclusive jurisdiction of the Parliament, notwithstanding the fact that the Parliament is not able to make the laws immediately, the Supreme Court under Article 141 can issue guidelines which will become mandatory for all to follow till such time the Parliament is able to make an act and publish it into the Gazette of India. Is it clear? Is it clear? I need a response.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this public interest litigation went in. There were 3 judges, Justice J.S. Verma, there was a lady judge, and there was another judge, right? They were all unanimous. And it was the first time that Justice J.S. Verma, formulated what is known as the Vishakha guidelines. That was in the year 1997. But it was a very speedy justice in this case, because 1992, this case happened. 1997, it reached the Supreme Court, but for the simple fact that there was a pan-India NGO, and there was a lot of international media, a lot of Indian media, domestic media, electronic media. Therefore, it got pace, and it drew the attention of the government and the Supreme Court. And we then also had, not trying to negate that we don't have very learned judges now, but Justice J.S. Verma and others, they took a very they took a view that was probably most required then, and he came in with what was known as the Vishakha guidelines, which, right, he mandated it to the government, saying, now see, another tricky situation is law is a concurrent subject in our state list, right? Both the center and the state can make laws on it. It is in the concurrent list. So whether I can make this particular rule, the Vishakha guidelines, applicable on the private sector or not, the Supreme Court was not very sure, because on the private sector, etc., only laws made by the parliament. But the Vishakha guidelines, the J.S. Verma साहब ने ये कहा कि कम से कम आप अपने सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट अंडरटेकिंग्स जो है आपकी CPUs वगैरह, वहां पे तो आप ये गाइडलाइंस चालू कर दीजिए कि सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट के आप सेल्स बना दीजिए, कमिटीज बना दीजिए, ये बना दीजिए, वो बना दीजिए, राइट? और उन्होंने उस पर्टिकुलर गाइडलाइंस में ही, because please try to understand that Sexual Harassment Act 2013, mostly it is borrowed by the Vishakha guidelines. The foundation is the Vishakha guidelines. But you will also be surprised to know, Soni ma'am, your video has been switched off. But you will also be surprised to know that, after many number of years, when a survey was done, we were all very sad to find out that even in the central PSUs, etc., right, as low as the 1 to 1.5% of the units were only following the Vishakha guidelines. Then when the units were not following the Vishakha guidelines, right, and in the Vishakha guidelines, it was written that if there is a aggrieved women, she cannot come to the Supreme Court or go to the High Court without exhausting all the remedies available to her in view of the guidelines. But when the Supreme Court found out that these guys are doing nothing, then they gave them a power that if you find that the Vishakha guidelines are not being followed in your organization, you can approach the High Court directly. And if you even find that the High Court is not attending to it, you can come to us, Supreme Court. Then only the Vishakha guidelines people started following slowly and gradually. This is the historical background of the Vishakha guidelines. Is it clear now? Now, why about working women? Right? Because what was Bhavri Devi doing? Was Bhavri Devi on a picnic? Or was she discharging her official duties? Yes, anybody please?
She was discharging her official duties. Right.
I would be very happy if there are other participants who also participate. While Sohini madam is most welcome, at least she's the only person who is providing me with a breather. But I would like many others to come in. We have Dr. Shalini Simon. We have Prabhat sir. We have 14 participants. Anyway, so she was performing her official duties. Now, if somebody performs her official duties, and if supposing in retaliation, if such kind of atrocities take place on a person who is performing our official duties, where is the protection? Where is the protection? And the parliament is not bothered about bringing in a law. And the rules that they have are so archaic that the conviction rate is very, and then there is involvement of the police, etc. And it's a very time-consuming process. So all this led to a rethink. And when the Vishaka guidelines were published in the year 1997, please understand, when they were published in the year 1997, then the Supreme Court also wanted the government to take up the legislative process for initiating a bill and finally converting it into an act ASAP. So around the year 1988, 1999, there was this bill which was moved in the Lok Sabha. There was a bill, Prevention of Sexual Harassment of Women. This bill was moved in the year 1998, 99, around that time. But only giving some kind of a lip sympathy, right, with no intention of converting it into an act. Right? There was some kind of debates, etc., for about 6 months or so. And then for 12 years, but for the Nirbhaya case, it was kept in the cold fridge. Then when that Nirbhaya case in 2012 happened, now this time there was no taking it low. Women organizations in our country were absolutely wild. And fortunately, in 2014, elections were due. And no party, no political party could have probably, they would have gone against the collective wish of women pan-India. Because this was very justifiable. We had the Vishaka guidelines, 1997 se 2012, 3 saal wahan, 12 saal idhar. 15 years has passed. 15 years have passed and no one bothers to talk about the law till there is a repeat incident like this again. And then again we have to go through 354 and 509. So this time it was a very, very tough uproar, a very strong protest. And then what was not passed in the last 15 years during the period 2009 till 2012, right, got passed within a matter of few months. Because 2012 अक्टूबर में निर्भया केस हुआ था और 2013 अप्रैल में ये एक्ट बनके आ गया. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
History समझ में आ गई?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, anybody, any questions on this before I take up and now try to discuss what are the differences now? What are the new provisions in this act? Why women can feel more protected? And what are the new features of this act? And how can we provide S squared D cube in provisions of this act? I'm willing to take any questions.
So before,
yeah,
yes,
please.
sir. Yeah, before you proceed, suppose I have a complaint against whatever, a co-worker. What is my first step?
Is that Rutika ma'am speaking?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
So what should be my first step? So, okay, understanding all this law is all right, but then now something has happened with me, and now where should I go in the first stage? The right track.
We'll come to that. That is
yes.
what I propose to discuss. Whom you can complain to, where you can complain to, in how many days can you expect justice, and what all. That is what because you see, necessity is the mother of invention. So कहीं ना कहीं कोई कमजोरी रही होगी हमारे existing laws वगैरह में, जिनकी वजह से 2013 में हमको एक नए कानून को शेप अप देना पड़ा. तो वो मैं बताऊंगा. आपका क्वेश्चन बिल्कुल वाजिब है, लाजमी है, राइट? और कोई अभी तक जो मैंने बताया उसमें कहीं कोई डाउट?
नहीं सर, इतना समझा कि now it has been taken very seriously. अभी जो आपने last 5 minutes में बोला है, and मुझे इतना
Correct.
समझ में आया कि that was after Nirbhaya case that happened. So one
Correct.
girl needed has to be sacrificed before, you know, before we are now safe.
This
So
is
yes,
unfortunate, but it has been such. That has been the conduct of the parliament, and I do not.
yes, yes.
Ajay sir, I have
the
one question.
Yeah, please welcome.
Okay, I just want to ask that, like the thing which you are talking about, prevention of sexual harassment, that is only covered for workplace or like for general also? Because like women can be harassed everywhere. So
See,
like,
we will see now. See,
Yeah.
just give me 5 minutes. I'll come to this. This
sure,
is a
sure.
question. All right, now before I go on to the provisions of the new act, I would like you to break the monotony. Just have a look at the Bhavri Devi's video, so that you know you can connect to her also. Share screen. All right. So I don't know whether should it open or not. I only wish that it opens. Just a minute. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
So the screen is visible, not the slideshow.
Not the, you could see the icons.
Yes.
Is the
Icons are
video
visible.
visible?
We can see multiple videos, sir.
Multiple. Oh my God. यहाँ एक ही नहीं दिख रही है अभी, यहाँ पे मल्टीपल दिखेगी तो कैसे होगा?
सर वो मल्टीपल वीडियोस के आइकन दिख रहे हैं पॉश पेन ड्राइव के अंदर जो बहुत सारे हैं.
हाँ ठीक है, मैं इसको, ये थोड़ा ट्रांसमिशन डिले भी हो जाता है ना यार.
या मे बी. यस.
चलो कोई बात नहीं, अभी देखो विश्वदीप भैया की आवाज सुनाई दी.
हाँ जी सर, मैं ही हूँ.
अच्छा अभी दिख रहा है?
नहीं सर, वही मल्टीपल वीडियोस दिखाई दे रहे हैं.
अच्छा हो रहा है शेयर स्क्रीन. अब दिख रही है?
Now we can see your screen. Yes, desktop we can see.
डेस्कटॉप दिखाई दे रहा है.
तो अब आ जाएगा. आया?
हाँ,
सर ये स्वयं सिद्धा करके आया.
ठीक है.
हमारे देश में कामकाजी महिलाओं की सुरक्षा के लिए मजबूत कानून है जिसका नाम है सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट ऑफ वुमेन एट वर्कप्लेस प्रिवेंशन प्रोहिबिशन एंड रिड्रेसल एक्ट 2013। इस कानून के तहत सरकारी दफ्तर, कॉर्पोरेट, बैंक, फैक्ट्री, खेत या घरेलू कामकाज करने वाली महिलाओं को सुरक्षित और सम्मानजनक।
सोहिनी मैडम, आपका आंसर मिला? मुन्नी बाई का भी अगर छेड़छाड़ हो जाएगा घर में भी, वो भी कवर्ड है.
माहौल में काम करने का अधिकार मिला है। देश भर की महिलाओं को काजी महिलाओं की सुरक्षा के लिए मजबूत कानून है जिसका नाम है सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट ऑफ वुमेन एट वर्कप्लेस प्रिवेंशन प्रोहिबिशन एंड रिड्रेसल एक्ट 2013। इस कानून के तहत सरकारी दफ्तर, कॉर्पोरेट, बैंक, फैक्ट्री, खेत या घरेलू कामकाज करने वाली महिलाओं को सुरक्षित और सम्मानजनक माहौल में काम करने का अधिकार मिला है। देश भर की महिलाओं को सुरक्षित कार्यक्षेत्र का बुनियादी अधिकार दिलाने के पीछे है एक 21 साल लंबा संघर्ष। कौन कहता है आसमान में
कलेक्टर साहब को हाथ
के घर में हो रहे यारों, ऐसा ही कुछ कर दिखाया राजस्थान के एक छोटे से गांव की एक सामान्य सी महिला भंवरी देवी ने। घटना 1992 की है। भंवरी एक साथिन थी। उसने गांव के दबंगों के घर में हो रहे बाल विवाह का विरोध किया।
मैं लगन जाओगो तो मैं लगन वगन मन दो 9 महीना की छोरिया को तो जो अपराध गलत से सरकार कलेक्टर साहब को आदेश से अर्थे मन दो
तो उसे भुगतना पड़ा उनका बेइंतहा जुल्म। और सबक सिखाने के लिए 22 सितंबर 1992 को उस परिवार के 5 लोगों ने भंवरी का सामूहिक बलात्कार किया, वो भी उसके पति के सामने।
फिर 2-3 दिन 5000 मारा खेत में सोचे जो सब पेड़ से जाने का माथा काट गया ऊपर छोरान का कचा आज तो बोलान का माथा काटा तड़के मनख्या का माथा काटांगे कि गला काटे छोरी बेटी खूब बड़ी तरह मारा रंज को काच नीचे जिन्हें सारी ने छेड़ा ले जा दे दी भैंसा ले जा दे दी सारी रंज का काच ने बेल दिया तरह की परेशानी आई थी मैडम काई पूछो तो एक एक 5 जना जा मेरे साथ में से जी पहले तो उन्होंने मारे कुटिया चौमासा का दिन से पहले तो फिर उन्होंने मारा कुटिया अरे मारा कूटर फिर पाछा 3 जना तो पकड़ लिया हमारा आदमी ने 2 मारा साथ में से जी बुरा खोटा काम करे।
अगले दिन शाम 4 बजे एफआईआर दर्ज हो पाई। 52 घंटों तक भंवरी का मेडिकल नहीं किया गया। अस्पताल, थाना, कोर्ट, हर संस्था ने भंवरी को निराश किया।
उन बेशरम पुलिस वालों ने भंवरी का घाघरा वहीं उतरवा लिया। अब आप सोचो, उसको दूसरा घाघरा तो दिया नहीं, फिर भंवरी के पति ने पगड़ी अपनी उतारी और एक लुंगी नुमा भंवरी ने बांधा। इतना अपमान, माने एक औरत सरकार का ही काम कर रही है, उसके बाद बदला उससे लिया जाए।
जांच पहले लोकल थाना, फिर सीआईडी और फिर सीबीआई तक गई। 22 अक्टूबर 1992 केस सीबीआई को ट्रांसफर करवाने की मांग लेकर जयपुर की सड़कें औरतों से पट गईं। पूरे राजस्थान से साथनें आईं, गृहिणियां आईं, समाज सेविकाएं आईं, कॉलेज की स्टूडेंट्स आईं और भंवरी के साथ आकर खड़ी हो गईं। उन पर डंडे बरसाए गए, लेकिन पुलिस के डंडे भी उनका हौसला नहीं कुचल पाए।
सबसे बड़ा झटका तो गांव की औरतों, जिन्हें हम साथीन कहते थे, उन्हें यही लगा कि सरकार के 2 चेहरे हैं। एक तरफ तो वो हमें कहते कि न्याय के लिए संघर्ष करो, हम आपके साथ हैं, और जब हम संघर्ष करते हुए पिटते हैं, हमारे पर कुछ होता है हादसा, तो हमें झूठा करार दे देते हैं। तो उन्होंने कहा अगर हम झूठे हैं तो हमें जेल में बंद करो। तो सबसे बड़ा आक्रोश उनमें इसी बात का था कि सरकार हमको किस नज़र से देख रही है और कैसे हमको विरोध करना चाह रही है।
27 सितंबर 1993 को पुलिस ने चालान पेश किया, लेकिन बिना मुल्जिमों की गिरफ्तारी के। आरोपी जनवरी 1995 में गिरफ्तार हुए, तब कोर्ट में सुनवाई शुरू हो पाई।
Just think, 1992 incident happens and the accused are arrested, have been arrested in 1995. 3 years later, this was, ये था लोकल जो इन लोगों का बोलबाला था।
मुकदमे की सुनवाई के दौरान 5 जज बदले गए।
5 judges were changed so that there was purposeful delay in the dispensation of justice.
15 नवंबर 1995 को फैसला आया। 5 आरोपियों को बरी कर दिया।
5 आरोपियों को हाई कोर्ट, ये डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट ने बरी कर दिया
गया। सभी भंवरी को झूठा ठहराने पर आमादा थे। गांव वाले, रिश्तेदार, पड़ोसी, सबने नजरें फेर ली। तब शुरू हुआ भंवरी का 2 तरफा संघर्ष। पहला, भंवरी ने अपने बलात्कार का मुकदमा हाई कोर्ट में दायर किया। दूसरा, महिला संगठनों ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एक मुकदमा दर्ज किया, विशाखा वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ राजस्थान।
Okay, so let me stop here. Come back. You got the essence, friends? समझ में आई बात?
All right, sir.
Good?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes,
So
sir.
that was the mandate. This is the genesis. Now now what is the current law doing? Okay. See what were the deficiencies of the current law, of the particular act. This current law has tried to, right, plug in those holes. Number one, right? Number one, in the current act, we have simplified the procedure. Number one, there is a time-based procedure of at best 270 days. At best 6 महीना और 2 महीना, 8 महीना और 1 9 महीना. At best 270 days in which the lady will get justice. It is not that the inquiry will be concluded and or recommendations will be filed. 270 days is the outer limit within which justice will have to be dispensed. How many days, Vishwadeep sir?
270.
As against?
I missed that, sir.
Bajaj. As against रुतिका मैडम, रूपल देव बजाज के केस में कितना टाइम लगा था?
17 साल.
17 साल. 270 days against 17 years. अगर मान लो 270 days को 1 साल भी मान लेते हैं तो 1/17. Number 1. Second, no police interference, no lawyers interference. Neither the complainant nor the respondent can bring lawyers. कोई लॉयर का इन्वॉल्वमेंट इसमें नहीं होगा. अब आप पूछेंगे सर क्यों नहीं होगा? Because basically we want to have the judgment done fast, etc., etc. There is a provision of appeal, right? वो है ना, क्या है, बड़ी मुश्किल से लाए हैं कश्ती निकाल के इस देश को रखना. अगर फिर लॉयर्स और फिर ये कोर्ट वोट इसमें लगा देंगे तो फिर 17 साल की जगह 34 साल हो जाएगा. तो जहां से हमको बचा के लाना है उस चीज में, उस भंवर में हम दोबारा इसको नहीं डालेंगे. तो ठीक है सर, अगर आप कोर्ट वोट को नहीं रखेंगे, वकीलों को नहीं रखेंगे, तो जजमेंट कौन देगा? अब उसके लिए एक लॉ आया है. जब आप लोग मेरे साथ 2 दिन की डिटेल वर्कशॉप करेंगे, जो अभी मैंने ISTD के लिए किया विद सम ऑफ माय को ट्रेनर्स, राइट, तब इसको और डिटेल में बताएंगे. अभी खाली ऊपर ऊपर बता रहा हूं कि सब जजमेंट कौन देगा. एम्प्लॉयर जो है, एक्ट ये कहता है, इफ देयर आर 10 or more than 10 employees. Have they said female employees? Have they said male employees? They are saying 10 or more than 10 employees in any organized or unorganized sector in the following. उसकी मैं लिस्ट आपको अभी पढ़ के बताऊंगा. आपको एक भी ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशन नहीं मिलेगा जो सरकार ने छोड़ा है. सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स को कवर किया है, स्पोर्ट्स इंस्टीट्यूट्स को कवर किया है, इंस्टीट्यूशंस को कवर किया है, फार्म हाउसेस को कवर किया है, NGOs को कवर किया है, नर्सिंग होम्स को कवर किया है. खुदा ना खास्ता मंदिरों को क्यों छोड़ दिया, रिलीजियस प्लेसेस को क्यों छोड़ दिया, मेरे को नहीं पता. तो वहां पे अगर 10 या 10 से ज्यादा एम्प्लॉइज हैं, अब आप सोचिए 10 या 10 से ज्यादा, व्हाट इज द इंटेंशन ऑफ द एक्ट? टू कवर इन एज मेनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस एज इज पॉसिबल. व्हाट इज 10 फॉर एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन? 10 is a minuscule number. So most of the organizations will come under the ambit. If there are 10 or more than 10 workers in any organization specified below, which I will discuss, it will be one of the 13 duties, one of the 13, THIRTEEN, 13 duties of the employer to form, initially it was known as an ICC. After an amendment in the year 2018, now it is only known as an IC. But let me discuss the ICC. It will be the duty of the employer to form an ICC, which will be called as an internal complaints committee, which will be formed by the employer from among the employees of the organization, the constitution of which has also been provided in the act. the chairperson, the presiding officer of this committee will always be a lady. And what lady? She will be the senior most lady in the organization then working. What if there is no lady in the organization? Then you can have another lady coming in from another of your nearby organization. If there is no other lady in the nearby organization also, then what? Then you can bring in a lady from your other organization from another state. But for anything, that position cannot go to a male. The presiding officer must be a lady. So what else? There can be both males and females as members who would also be employees of the organization. However, minimum, the law says there should be minimum 50% ladies in the committee. So if you want, you can keep all ladies, but you cannot have all males. Minimum 50% must be ladies. This is also already there in the act. Now you would say, sir, सभी तो कंपनी वाले हैं, and अगर कंपनी का कोई बड़ा ऑफिसर वहां से कोई खटपट हो जाती है, तो ये जूनियर ऑफिसर्स उनके खिलाफ फैसला देने में तो उनको काफी परेशानी होगी. So it is mandatorily made that all such committees will have an external member. All these members are known as internal members, and there will be an external member nominated from either an NGO or a social service organization, especially connected to women issues in that area, so as to neutralize bias, if any, while taking decisions. And the presence of this external member in all meetings of the committee will be mandatory. In his absence, no quorum will be said to have been complied with. So this is going to, and these committee members will at best office, and the committee members will at best hold office for a maximum period of 3 years. I'm not very clear, but some people say they can offer themselves for reappointment. I also wish so. I also feel so, because the law does not prohibit their reappointment. So I take it that they can be reappointed, which means, but after every 3 years, the employer will have to constitute a new ICC. So much so for the ICC. One another duty of the employer is, right, to disseminate this information amongst all workers, including contract workers in the organization, by publicizing such information at most conspicuous places, like the dining halls, the canteens, the markets, the shopping centers, etc., where the names of the committee members, their mobile, their email IDs, etc., must be written, so that if somebody wants to complain, they should be easily accessible. In another of the duty of the employer, that is why it is mandatory for all organizations which are having 10 or more than 10 workers to constitute an ICC. Just 2 years back, some Medanta Limited in Bhopal, there was a lady, she had some kind of sexual harassment. There was no ICC in that particular laboratory. That was a laboratory. And the lady went from pillar to post. Finally, she went to the High Court, and the High Court penalized the employer because the law says first offense, the lawyer will pay 50,000 rupees as penalty. Second offense, double the penalty. Third offense, the license or the renewal of the license may get cancelled. He may have to wind up the business in case of not meeting with the obligations that are prescribed for the employer. So this employer had not constituted the ICC. Therefore, the High Court could not penalize the employer more than 50,000 rupees as per the Act. But the High Court gave a compensation of 25 lakhs of rupees to that lady for the mental trauma that she had to go through, for the simple fact that there was no ICC in the company. Just send me a WhatsApp, I'll send you the case name. Similarly, about 5 or 6 years back in G Nova Soft, the Madras High Court gave a lady a compensation of 1.68 crores of rupees because there was no ICC, Internal Complaints Committee, which was formed by the employer. Such are the penal provisions now. It is also one of the duties of the employer to arrange for awareness programs. That is why we become so popular. That is why ISTD and so many posh courses are taking place now, because the industry has woken up to the fact that if they do not have certified training programs, which awareness sessions that they have conducted for where the salient features of the POSH Act have to be dealt on with the employees, include contract workers. If on inquiry they find out that such classes or awareness sessions have not taken place, it will be constituted as first offense. जैसे हमारे लाइसेंसेस में पहले एक बार पंचिंग होती है, फिर 2 बार पंचिंग होती है, फिर लाइसेंस खत्म कर देंगे, declared not fit to drive. एम्प्लॉयर की और एक ड्यूटी है जो आईसीसी मेंबर्स हैं, right, to also do orientation programs for them, because they are not judges. They don't know how to do the inquiry. They do not know the questioning techniques, etc., etc. So the employer has also to perform those. There are such 13 duties which have been listed by the employer. So what does a lady have to do now? Supposing the lady feels that there is a case of sexual harassment. She feels that one Mr. X is harassing this particular person. Within the law says, within 90 days of the first incident or 90 days of the last incident in a series of incidents, the lady must file a complaint to the ICC. Now, what is there to be in a complaint? That can only be dealt in a detailed class. But what is the simplification process? There is already a pre-printed form available in the HR. You only have to go fill in the form, either deposit it with the nominated officer. All that you need to do is get a receipt with the date and the time mentioned, and the clock starts ticking. Once the complaint committee receives the complaint, within 10 days, it has to, and they have said that the complaint has to be filed with 6 copies with witnesses and all that we will do in a detailed class. Within 10 days, they will send a notice to the respondent along with the copy of the complaint. The respondent must reply to it within 7 days. After the replies is done, the company will at best take 90 more days to complete the inquiry, cross-examination, examination of the witnesses, report writing. Everything must be completed within 6 months from the date of the complaint made. Now, if the respondent is not appearing or cooperating, Supposing he and his boss has connived. Supposing the boss has connived, and whenever the committee is calling him for oral deposition, right? His boss sends him on a tour. So he says on official duty, etc., etc. Now the committee has a deadline to meet, and the committee has been given the powers of a quasi-judicial court, quasi-judicial body. So the committee will report to the employer, and it will be the employer's duty to make sure that the respondent appears. The committee comes to a conclusion and makes the recommendation, completing the inquiry, makes a recommendation. And the recommendations, one copy of it, it submits to the employer. Another copy of it, it submits to the district officer, which finally goes to the district magistrate. Within 60 days, the employer is duty bound to implement the recommendations. If not, another offense. And file the compliance with the district magistrate. If he doesn't do it, the district magistrate will take that to be a second offense, and necessary penal measures will take place. Now tell me, are the questions answered? Is the process not very simple? You will be surprised to know, right, that if during the process of inquiry, the female says, supposing her boss has done something wrong to her. Now she doesn't want to be in the same premises. She can ask for a transfer. If the company feels that they cannot possibly transfer the boss because of some important work taking place, then they will have to give paid leave to that lady. The lady can prefer actions against both 354, 509 as well as under the POSH Act. They are not mutually exclusive. If she wants action under 509 and 354, the committee members will accompany her to the police station and help her file the complaint. If it is found that the person or the accused is actually accused of sexual harassment, depending upon the gravity of the offense committed, he could be suspended, he could be transferred, and if the gravity of the offense is more, then he could even be terminated. The committee can also recommend that the lady's medical expenses be met by the respondent. So much so that if his salary, etc., cannot meet the expenses, his gratuity and provident fund will also be attached, which generally is not attached. And if still there is a shortfall, then the employer will have to make good the shortfall. अब बताइए, process simple हो गया कि नहीं? Is it clear?
Sir, ये last point फिर से एक बार बताना, gratuity और.
See, gratuity and provident fund. Supposing I am Ajay Agarwal, I have taken a loan from the bank for my business or for, right? Gratuity and provident fund is normally known as your family's, for the future of your family. So normally for paying your personal dues, etc., they are kept away from the recovery mechanisms. But there is a term in the law which we say can be recovered as land arrears. And land arrears means that even your provident fund and gratuity can be tagged for the payment of these dues. Which means the intention of the government is keep away from all these. We can go to any extent. We will not tolerate all this nonsense. Now your question, what if a lady makes a false complaint? Correct, because there are no witnesses normally. The lady can also say, मेरे को promote करो नहीं तो मैं complaint कर दूंगी. I will file a complaint. The complaint will anyway have to be investigated. And if it is found that it is a malicious, there is a difference between a false complaint and a malicious complaint. You know, when on inquiry, I find that the claim of the lady is not justified, it's okay. But if I come to the fact that she had filed the complaint primarily because she wanted to tarnish the image of the person or cause injury, mental trauma, etc., to that male person, then it will fall within the ambit of malicious complaint. And in that case, whatever provisions apply to the male in terms of the penalties, right, the mirror image will apply to the lady. The lady can also be asked to pay vice versa for the trauma and meet the medical expenses of the male member. If supposing he has gone into a trauma, or if his marriage life has been spoiled, or because of his children, because of his wife, they are all have suspected, on account of which he has gone into a depression. Clear? Now another question is, supposing there are less than 10 or 10 workers. Right? Supposing there is a local dhaba wala. A lady is a lady, whether she is working or not working, does not, right? Whether she is working in an organized sector or in an unorganized sector. So in cases where there are less than 10 workers, still, right, those employers will not have to form the ICC. For all those employers, the district magistrate will form what is known as an LCC, which is a local complaints committee, which will be headed by the district magistrate. And in every taluk, tehsil, there will be a nodal officer. This lady does not have to go to the district headquarters to file a complaint. She will just give a complaint to the local person notified by the district magistrate. And the process is same. Again, 180 days plus 60 days. Now another tricky situation. I am a private sector employer. What if the employer is found guilty? If the lady complains against the employer, now who will do the investigation, etc.? In that case, the ICC will not do. It will be filed with the LCC, Local Complaints Committee, because the ICC may not have the wherewithal or the guts or the powers, or to investigate a case against the employer of the company. Correct? Now, any questions? Now you want to see what is a workplace? Who is an aggrieved woman? Let me see if I can just, right? Okay, just a minute. See, I'll anyway send you the handbook, right? Provided I receive that. अरे इसको बंद करो यार, right? Share screen. Share screen. दिख रहा है ये? मैडम दिख रहा है? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
very good. Very good. Very good. I'm so happy. First time it is, it is saying that it's working well. Okay, 354. अच्छा, फिर क्या हुआ? ये जो शुरू में 354 था ना, जब जस्टिस वर्मा निर्भया केस आया, तो 2012 में क्रिमिनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट आया. उसमें ये जो 354 की उलझन थी, उसको जस्टिस वर्मा ने अलग अलग कर दिया. 354A, 354B, 354C, ऐसे करके. Now these are all your workplaces. Can somebody read it, please?
सर वर्कप्लेस नहीं दिखाई दे रहा.
नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है.
ना.
नहीं, वो स्लाइड ही नहीं दिख रही है.
Sir, it's visible.
It's visible. It takes time. Now can you read it? Nursing homes, NGOs, nursing homes, NGOs, government organizations, house. मुन्नी बाई से भी मत खेला लेना.
सर वो वाली स्लाइड नहीं दिख रही है जो आप पढ़ रहे, जिसमें से पढ़ रहे वो वाली स्लाइड नहीं दिख रही.
वो नहीं दिख रही है. अच्छा, स्टॉप शेयर करो, फिर से लेके आओ. क्या किया जाएगा? फिर लेके आएंगे. मत दिखने दीजिए इसको. Okay, 1 minute, please. 1 minute. कहाँ है ये? जस्ट अ मिनट माय फ्रेंड्स, बहुत जरूरी है आपको देखना। आप दिख रही है? आप दिख रही है मैडम?
नहीं, अभी तक शेयर स्क्रीन नहीं किया ना आपने?
ओके, अभी करता हूँ शेयर स्क्रीन। आवाज है ये है। अब दिखा क्या?
प्रीफेस दिख रहा है।
प्रीफेस दिख रहा है ना, इसका मतलब ये भी दिख जाएगा। अब दिखा?
नहीं सर।
अच्छा अच्छा, रुकिए, प्रीफेस में ही चलते हैं, वहां से लेके आते हैं इसको। जस्ट अ मिनट, स्टॉप शेयर। शेयर स्क्रीन, शेयर स्क्रीन, ये अच्छा, ये दिखना चाहिए। ये दिखी मैडम? ये दिखा?
सर अभी भी वो प्रीफेस ही दिखाई दे रहा है।
हाँ, प्रीफेस ही दिखा रहा हूँ। हाँ ठीक है, वही दिखा रहा हूँ। अभी रुक जाइए, अभी रुक जाइए, अभी रुक जाइए, अभी आपको वर्क प्लेस दिखाता हूँ। पीपीटी में नहीं दिख रहा है, कोई बात नहीं, डोंट वरी। थोड़ी थोड़ी होती है, बट ठीक है, वी विल सरपास दिस। This is the book which I will WhatsApp to you only when I receive the request. ये देखिए, एग्रीड। अच्छा, ये भी दिखाऊंगा, पहले वर्क प्लेस देख ली। अब दिख रहा है?
यस सर।
नर्सिंग होम्स, एनजीओस, गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, हाउस में भी ये भी लिख दिया है, ड्वेलिंग प्लेस, कंपनीज, educational institutions including all those who are operating at quota, education institutions, schools, colleges, coaching centers, sports facilities, farms, इसको नीचे करो भाई, cooperative societies, service providers, hospitals। कहाँ बचेंगे बोलिए? बच सकते हैं कहीं पे?
ट्रांसपोर्ट वगैरह उसमें?
ट्रांसपोर्ट में क्या है कि अभी व्हाट इज अ वर्क प्लेस पे आते हैं। वर्क प्लेस में दीज आर, अब इसके बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या कहा है, देयर इज अ सुप्रीम कोर्ट हैज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड व्हाट इज नोन एज अ कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ extended workplace. Now there are call centers, etc. And in call centers, etc., there are night duty, 10 o'clock. So it said if the company provides the transportation, if it is a company provided transportation, then that transport vehicle also becomes an extended workplace. You got my point? Say the company organizes a picnic, then that picnic spot also becomes an extended workplace. Say the company sends you and one of your male colleagues, say from Banaras to Kolkata to finalize a tender. Then right from the point you board the company vehicle, aircraft, hotel in Kolkata, client's place, till such time you are back to your home, all that will be constituted as a workplace. So this is the notion of an extended workplace, because the idea is simple, right? You cannot get into the nitty-gritties of the words used and escape. Simple as that. The Supreme Court has said, we will translate this particular act into its widest orbit. And you will be surprised to see, like, what is sexual harassment? They said 5 things. Any physical contact or advance, any sexual favor that you are asking, either for a promise or for fear. तुम मेरे साथ घूमने चलो, मैं तुम्हारा प्रमोशन कर दूंगा. तुम मेरे साथ घूमने नहीं चलोगी तो मैं तुम्हारा प्रमोशन नहीं करूंगा. So दोनों हो गया. You are wanting a sexual favor for either reward or punishment, correct or not? Then any lewd remark, showing pornography, और अगर इन सब में भी कोई छूट गया, any other unwelcome verbal abuse वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह, सब will be constituted in the form of a sexual harassment. लेकिन ये सारी चीजें क्या होंगी? All these things have to be unwelcome. Unwelcome physical touch. अगर वेलकम फिजिकल टच होगा तो फिर तो बॉयफ्रेंड गर्लफ्रेंड सभी एक्यूज्ड हो जाएंगे. Harassment will only take place when it is unwelcome. When I don't like that you do it and you are doing it, then only you are harassing me. Correct? Any questions? Tarun Tejpal got, even Justice Ganguly, right? The 3-member judge of the Supreme Court had found Justice Ganguly, but spared him because he had already retired as the judge of the Supreme Court by then. But he had to pay a price in terms of, he had to relinquish the post of the West Bengal National Human Rights Commission. Tarun Tejpal got under this act. Anything post 2013? Right? Yes, any questions? Please.
सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था.
बोलिए.
ये जो आईसीसी कमेटी के बारे में आपने बोला, उनको भी क्या कोई ट्रेनिंग मिलेगी? For
yeah, it is mandatory. At least 2 regular trainings every year. If the employer does not do it, it is violation of the provisions of the act. Because they are not lawyers. They don't know how to question. They don't know how to draft, how to write a report. So until those members are trained, they will not be able to dispose of the objectives of the act. We can't bring lawyers. So if we'll have to use in-house talent, they have said they have used 2 words, orientation, skills, and capacity. The ICC members will have to be trained in providing the right kind of orientation and in the development of right kind of skills and capacities. They have to be learned to be empathic, emotionally intelligent, non-biased, non-judgmental. So all those things will have to come in. You see, you practice in the court or you pass through the judiciary, then you are a lower court. कितने साल लग जाते हैं हाई कोर्ट में ऐसा जज आने के लिए, है कि नहीं? आप इतने सेंसिटिव मैटर्स पे इन लोगों को रखेंगे विदाउट ट्रेनिंग, तो हो सकता है कि, एंड आफ्टर ऑल दे आर डिपार्टमेंटल एम्प्लॉइज है ना, कोई कॉमर्स से है, कोई इंजीनियरिंग से है, बट ठीक है, यू हैव thought them to be people of repute and integrity and the best that your organization can possibly, pull in the members of, so fine, then train them. So that is a must. Orientation के ये work, ये employees training में at regular intervals नहीं लिखा है, लेकिन ICC members में at regular intervals भी लिख दिया है, because you got to keep them polishing. क्योंकि after all these recommendations etc are challengeable. इनके अगेंस्ट में अपील्स फाइल होती हैं, तो if they are not well drafted, if then the matter will get defeated. Justice dispensation नहीं होगा. Although the courts take a very liberal view when it comes to the cases of sexual harassment, they normally do not question they do not examine the witnesses etc. They don't make the process time consuming. They only go through whether the committee has followed the prescribed rules or not, because the rules of natural justice must always be, कहीं वो by mistake तो नहीं छूट गया है, respondent को present होने का chance नहीं मिला, या
और सर अगर किसी को आईसीसी के मतलब जो उन्होंने जो भी जस्टिस दिया है उससे मतलब आपत्ति हो तो क्या कर सकता है वो?
तो ही कैन फाइल ही, आप देखिए सब कोई फाइल तो होगा ही, किसी को तो आपत्ति होगी, तो उसमें बोल दिया गया है कि जहां पे सर्विस रूल्स हैं, राइट, यू कैन फाइल एन अपील अंडर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ योर सर्विस रूल्स. इफ देयर इज नो सर्विस रूल्स आर देयर, देन अंडर द ट्राइब्यूनल एक्ट. अगर ये दोनों भी नहीं है और आपको अगर लगता है कि आपको जो recommendations हैं they are shockingly disproportionate, then only the High Court can entertain it. Otherwise, you have to exhaust all remedies before you go to the High Court. The High Court is not a dustbin. So the appeal will lie with the service rules, and all companies must have a POSH policy. तो उस POSH policy में भी appeal का procedure लिखा हुआ है, because appeal is anybody's right. But most of the appeals get disposed of within 10 to 15 days. Because the overall objective of reinstituting the institution and providing the institution with the requisite credibility, that cannot be compromised. Because if there is no credibility in the institution, our women folk will never feel S squared DQ. Yes, any other question, please? But Nagar sir, any other question?
So no questions, no arguments.
No, arguments are welcome. But that is the law. I am a narrator. If we have to discuss the niceties of the law, we can do one-on-one. But on a public platform, I'm only explaining the facets of the law. Mr. Gulati, Madam Setia.
No, sir, no questions at all.
All right, thank you then. So I'll then request Mr. Akash sir to kindly take over and give us concluding remarks. Anything on chat? Anything on chat? Nothing much, excepting for regrets for some people who had to leave early. Fair enough. Akash sir, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
So,
okay.
Can you do the final roundup, please?
Wonderful session. And I request our participants, if anyone has any questions, please ask.
Akash sir, आपका volume क्यों नहीं आ रहा है दोस्त? Just check, maybe problem हो सकता. I can't listen properly, but all right, I will make an effort. No problem, sir. No problem. Please go ahead.
Okay.
So, are you able to hear Akash sir?
Yes, I am able to hear him. But
okay.
वही है कि.
Okay. So please carry on, sir.
Okay. So thank you. Anyone has any questions? Please ask. Okay, I think there is no questions. And क्या होता है कि हम रेगुलरली कुछ ऐसे सेशंस ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं एवरी संडे, तो आप बाकी सेशंस भी अटेंड कर सकते हैं. और एक न्यू प्रोजेक्ट ABCD लॉन्च किया है, तो आज अच्छा मौका है न्यू ईयर के मौके पे, तो मैं आपको शेयर करना चाहता हूँ उसका पोस्टर, और उसके बाद उसके बारे में डिटेल डिस्कस करते हैं. जस्ट 1 मिनट. So I think it's visible, ma'am. Is this visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
ABCD is India's international tour. Oh, ABCD is
yes, so
ABCD International's Indian tour. मैं सोचा इंटरनेशनल टूर हो गया।
ABCD इंटरनेशनल का ये इंडिया टूर रहेगा 2022, तो जिसमें हम अलग अलग सिटीज के अलग अलग फील्ड के लोगों का जो सक्सेस स्टोरीज है वो लोगों के सामने लेके आने वाले हैं। और ये सब कुछ सक्सेस स्टोरीज को लोगों के सामने लेके आना चाहते हैं वो इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं। और इसका बेसिकली ट्रेनर्स, कोचेस और मेंटर्स को या एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को क्या बेनिफिट होगा, तो इसमें क्या है कि हम उनको एक अच्छा ब्रांडिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी देंगे, जो एक अच्छे प्लेटफॉर्म पे वो अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करेंगे, तो अपने आप को वो अच्छे से लोगों के सामने रख सकते हैं। क्रेडिबिलिटी क्रिएट होती है, विजिबिलिटी क्रिएट होती है, और ऐसे मौके जो होते हैं उससे आप अपने बिजनेस को एक्सपांड कर सकते हैं अच्छे से। तो काफी सारे अपॉर्चुनिटीज वहां से मिलती है और आप भी इसका पार्ट बन सकते हैं, या आप किसी को इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं। तो आप भी सपोर्ट कीजिए, और जो ABCD का कल्चर है, लेट्स ग्रो टुगेदर, तो हम साथ मिलके आगे बढ़ते हैं। और एनीथिंग आपके भी मन में कुछ आइडियाज है या कुछ ऐसा है न्यू आइडियाज, तो वो भी आप शेयर कर सकते हैं। तो अगले कुछ महीनों में हम कुछ कॉम्पिटिशन्स भी रखने वाले हैं एंटरप्रेन्योर्स ट्रेनर्स के लिए, जिससे वो अपने आप को अच्छे से एक्सप्रेस कर पाए, अपने बिजनेस को डेवलप कर पाए, और उनको कुछ उसमें से फंड भी मिलेगा जो स्टार्टअप्स वगैरह है उनको। तो काफी सारे प्लानिंग से सब साथ मिलके अच्छे से काम करेंगे। और आप भी ऐसे सेशंस कंडक्ट कर सकते हैं, और उसके लिए आप या तो ABCD के किसी भी मेंबर से कनेक्ट हो सकते हैं, उनको बोल सकते हैं। तो आप भी संडे कोई एक अच्छे टॉपिक लाइफ स्किल्स और बिजनेस स्किल्स के रिलेटेड कर सकते हैं। An insightful session. Thanks again. Yeah, thank you ma'am for your feedback. तो जो भी कुछ सवाल है आपके, अगर आपको लगता है सेशन के बाद भी पूछना है, तो डेफिनेटली आप अजय सर को कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, या ABCD का कांटेक्ट भी मिलेगा, या मुझे पर्सनली भी मैसेज कर सकते हैं। सो थैंक यू वंस अगेन फॉर योर वैल्यूएबल टाइम, एंड थैंक यू अजय सर स्पेशली। तो आपने अभी न्यू ईयर का शुरुआत किया है, तो so once again thank you for this wonderful session. And if anyone did not have any questions, so we will wind up.
Thank you, Ajay sir. Wonderful session.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all my participants who gave in so much of their love, affection, and valuable time, and made it pretty easy for me to be with you. भटनागर सर, सोहिनी मैडम, काफी लोग तो हमारे परिवार से ही थे, और जो हमारे परिवार के नए सदस्य हैं, all those who have joined in, करीम सर, मैडम शीला मिस्त्री, Mr. Gulati, Jyoti ma'am. So you please connect with ABCD International, and we keep on doing a lot of programs, and it will be our pleasure to have you in our fold. Akash sir is our leader, and you will find our activities quite enriching and educative. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Akash sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, Anup sir, आप कुछ बोल रहे थे? Yes, please.